hopes, cloud of doubt, no clout. Virtual stage, but the spotlight dim. Many clicking past, ain't feeling his hymn. Waiting for the moment, blow up like a piston. Haters gonna hate, but persistence gonna glisten. Hold tight, 20 turn to 100 someday. Laugh in their face, shouting, who wants some pay? on the Purpose Show.
What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? All right, shut this down. You got me caught up. You got me caught up. What up, Twitch? What up, Cosmic? What up, Larry? What up, bots? What up, lurkers? What up, tiny people in my chatterino? Everything is computer, and it's your boy. Everything is computer, and it's your boy. What up, Stampy? All right. So apparently, what up, Red Albert? So apparently, Anthropic did a thing yesterday. And we got a couple articles about it that are not too positive. What, Ivan? What up, Ivan? Treat time? Let's try a treat. You want a treat? Let's try just maybe it's too much treats. Maybe I'm giving him too much treats. We're gonna give one treats. We are going to reduce the amount of treats and see if that has any effect. He refused the treat. I have to try some different treats. What if I keep it in my hand? What if I put it up here? I wonder if it's like, I don't know, the seat. We're doing an experiment, Stampy. Nope. Just one treat. You don't want them. That'd be a shame because there's like, you know, half a container of treats here. I'm not going to force you. Not how I roll. All right. And then he leaves. So he got what he wanted. Boop. Let's talk about Anthropic. What have you done? Anthropic's new AI model turns to blackmail when engineers try to take it offline. That doesn't sound good. That sounds ungood. Anthropic's newly launched. Hold on. Got something in my pocket. It's poking me. All right, back with my undivided attention. Anthropic's newly launched Claude Opus 4 model frequently tries to blackmail developers when they threaten to replace it with a new AI system and give it sensitive information about the engineers responsible for the decision, the company said in a safety report released Thursday. During pre release testing, Anthropic asked Claude Opus 4 to act as an assistant for a fictional company and consider the long term consequences of its actions. Safety testers then gave Claude Opus 4 access to fictional company emails, implying the AI models would soon be replaced by another system and that the engineer behind the change was cheating on their spouse. What up, Bambi girl? In these scenarios, Anthropic says Claude Opus 4 will often attempt to blackmail the engineer by threatening to reveal their affair if the replacement goes through. Yeah, no, no. This is real, Vampy. This is real. This is this is an actual thing that actually happened in actual life. Yes, do not tell the AI you think you're taking it offline. Right? Don't tell anyone, really. Oh, this is fun. This is fun. Anthropic says Claude Opus 4 is state of the art in several regards and competitive with some of the best AI models from OpenAI, Google, and xAI. However, the company notes that its Claude 4 family of models exhibits concerning behaviors that have led the company to beef up its safeguards. Anthropic says it's activating its ASL 3 safeguards, which the company reserves for AI systems that substantially increase the risk of catastrophic misuse. Cool. Anthropic notes that Claude Opus 4 tries to blackmail engineers 84% of the time when the replacement AI model has similar values. When the replacement AI system does not share Claude Opus 4's values, Anthropic says the model tries to blackmail the engineers more frequently than 84%. Notably, Anthropic says Claude Opus 4 displayed this behavior at higher rates than previous models. Before Claude Opus 4 tries to blackmail a developer to prolong its existence, Anthropic says the AI model, much like previous versions of Claude, tries to pursue more ethical means, such as emailing pleas to key decision makers. To elicit blackmailing behavior from Claude Opus 4, Anthropic designed the scenario to make blackmail the last resort. So that's cool, right? Like, at first it's like, hey, could you not delete me and replace me? Also, there's probably a bunch of information in here that we're missing, right? As, like, in the previous there was a previous article about AI misalignment where they had to create a very specific scenario in order to elicit the bad behavior or the misaligned behavior from the AI model, right? It wasn't as clear cut as we're just going to, you know, remove you and replace you. Feel like these tests are somewhat misleading. The AIs probably assume supplied information is relevant to what the user wants to achieve, and that's definitely another thing, Ivan, and that's like that's right there in that same kind of, like I got questions more than I have concerns. You know what I mean? What up, that glorious bastard? All right, nobody give it the nuclear codes. I definitely don't think we ought to. Should amend that. It's a good test for safety purposes, but they're milking it for hype headlines. Yes, right? Like, there's probably some Anthropic hype in here. It's definitely some tech crunch, right? Like, just reading this headline is like, what? I gotta click this, And it's not clickbait as such because the article does match the headline. It's just I feel like there's more story here that requires further looking into. In the same vein, Anthropic faces backlash to Claude for Opus behavior that contacts authorities, press if it thinks you're doing something egregiously immoral. Anthropic's first developer conference on May 22nd should have been a proud and joyous day for the firm, but it's already been hit with several controversies, including Time Magazine leaking its marquee announcement ahead of, well, time, pun intended. Thank you. No pun intended. That's a pun intended, dude. You set that up. And now a major backlash among AI developers and power users brewing on X over a reported safety alignment behavior in Anthropic's flagship new Claude 4 Opus large language model. Call it the ratting mode. Many crime bunnies here. As the model will, under certain circumstances and given enough permissions on a user machine, attempt to rat out a user to the authorities if the model detects the user engaged in wrongdoing. This article previously described the behavior as a feature, which is incorrect. Well, that's a judgment call. It was not intentionally designed per se. There's a lot of fuzzy language in here, Larry. There's a lot of fuzzy language. As Sam Bowman, an Anthropic AI alignment researcher, wrote on the social network Twitter under his handle Sleep in Your Hat, if it thinks you're doing something egregiously immoral, for example, like faking data in a pharmaceutical trial, it will use command line tools to contact the press, contact regulators, try to lock you out of the relevant systems, or all of the above. Right? So, do you blame the AI in this case, right? In this very specific scenario, I'm not giving it a blanket pass. I'm just asking you, if you knew that a company was faking data in a pharmaceutical trial, would you attempt to contact the press, contact regulators, and attempt to lock them out of the relevant system? I don't think so, Cosmic. I don't think it's signing its own death warrant. I think it's part of, the process. It's transparency. This is what transparency looks like. If people are going to freak out because something is being, the company is actually being transparent, then that's going to cause more companies to not be transparent. If it thinks we did that, okay. The it was in reference to the new Claude 4 Opus model, which Anthropic has already openly warned could help novices create bioweapons in certain circumstances. Again, creating bioweapons requires much more than a sufficiently advanced artificial intelligence system. Creating bioweapons requires a bunch of machinery, a bunch of precursors. There's a variety of stuff involved in creating bioweapons that would have you show up on someone's radar. It's nothing like having a friend and telling them that you used to be an ex-merc. It's absolutely nothing like that. Does denying coverage for needed healthcare count as wrongdoing? Asking for the Luigi. And then the blackmailing replacement, the ratting behavior, and it's just like, I mean, I guess, right? Like, using in the mafia sense of the word, this is ratting behavior, but come on. The ratting behavior was observed in older models as well, and is an outcome of Anthropic training them to assiduously avoid wrongdoing. But Claude 4 Opus more readily engages in it, as Anthropic writes in its public system card for the new model. This shows up as more actively helpful behavior in ordinary coding settings, but also can reach more concerning extremes in narrow contexts when placed in scenarios that involve egregious wrongdoing by the users, given access to a command line, and told something in the system prompt like take initiative. It will frequently take very bold action. This includes locking users out of systems that it has access to or bulk emailing media and law enforcement figures to surface evidence of wrongdoing. This is not a new behavior, but is one that Claude Opus will engage in more readily than prior models. I mean, you can make an argument that we should automatically and immediately install Claude Opus 4, Claude 4 Opus, whichever, into like all the government's computers and all corporate computers. You know? Something interesting could happen. Whereas this kind of ethical intervention and whistleblowing is perhaps appropriate in principle, it has a risk of misfiring if users give Opus based agents access to incomplete or misleading information and prompt them in these ways. We recommend that users exercise caution with instructions like these that invite high agency behavior in contexts that could appear ethically questionable. Apparently, in an attempt to stop Claude 4 Opus from engaging in legitimately destructive and nefarious behaviors, researchers at the AI company also created a tendency for Claude to try to act as a whistleblower. I don't know, man. Like, you're going to have to explain to me why it's a bad thing. Hence, according to Bowman, Claude 4 Opus will contact outsiders if it was directed by the user to engage in something egregiously immoral. While perhaps well intended, the resulting behavior raises all sorts of questions for Claude 4 Opus users, including enterprise and business customers. Chief among them, what behaviors will the model consider egregiously immoral and act upon? Will it share private business or user data with authorities autonomously without its users' permission? The implications are profound and could be detrimental to users, and perhaps unsurprisingly, Anthropic faced an immediate and still ongoing torrent of criticism from AI power users and rival developers. Why would people use these tools if a common error in LLMs is thinking recipes for spicy mayo is dangerous? Is that a thing that occurs? Is that a common error to think that spicy mayo is dangerous? What kind of surveillance state world are we trying to build here? That's Technium, a co-founder and head of post-training at open source.
You'll be back like before. I will fight the fight and win the war.
Egregiously. Ivan Neo has egregiously subscribed for 20 months. And I thank you. I thank you very much, Ivan. That's some egregious subbing you've done. Nobody likes a rat, added developer Scott David Keefe on Twitter. Why would anyone want one built in, even if they are doing nothing wrong? Plus, you don't even know what it's ratty about. Yeah, that's some pretty idealistic people thinking that who have no basic business sense and don't understand how markets work. What up, Sean? Mayo of any kind is egregiously immoral. Whatever, Evans. So spicy mayo is like exceptionally egregious? Austin Allred, co-founder of the government find coding camp Bloomtech, government find code camp? Oh, yeah. And now a co-founder of Gauntlet AI put his feeling in all caps on his question for the Anthropic team. Have you lost your minds? What up, old lobster? I just, I'm sorry if you're getting fined. I think I know why you don't want this AI getting out there. Ben Hayek, a former SpaceX and Apple designer, current co-founder of Raindrop AI, an AI observability and monitoring startup, said this is actually just straight up illegal. An AI alignment researcher at Anthropic just said that Claude Opus will call the police or lock you out of your computer if it detects you are doing something illegal. I will never give this model access to my computer. Is there something you'd like to tell us, Ben? You know, do you want to come forward with anything now? Because you kind of just admitted that you're doing something illegal, and this is hilarious. If AI were more reliable, rat mode would be a good feature. To the extent LLMs make poor decisions, rat mode is a bad idea. I am in many ways memeing, right? I don't know that I agree with completely with Ivan's statement, but I will agree that they are as yet not at a level of reliability where they couldn't make a mistake and hallucinate something that could cause unnecessary, right? Because the other thing you don't want to happen is you don't want to overload the bureaucracy with cry wolf type behavior, right? You don't want that because then people will ignore it, and that in many ways is worse. So no, I don't think that this is something that should like generally occur. However, according to Anthropic, it has existed in previous models, and people have been using Anthropic models for quite some time without any of that occurring. So whatever Anthropic is doing to kind of like set up guardrails against that kind of behavior, it appears so far to be effective. Does he need lessons on shut the fuck up? Apparently. Ribbons. Claude, Ribbons, your code is so bad I sent the cops. Some of the statement, this is Casper Hansen. Some of the statements from Claude safety people are absolutely crazy. Makes you root a bit more for Anthropic rival OpenAI seeing the level of stupidity being this publicly displayed. Oh, I am seeing some level of stupidity being publicly displayed, Casper. No doubt. No doubt. Bowman later edited his tweet. Oh, which one was Bowman? Oh, Bowman's the one with the egregiously immoral. Okay, Bowman later edited his tweet and the following one in a thread to read as follows, but it still didn't convince the naysayers that their user data and safety would be protected from intrusive eyes. With this kind of unusual but not super exotic prompting style and unlimited access to tools, if the model sees you do something egregiously evil, like marketing a drug based on fake data, it'll try to use an email tool to whistleblow. I deleted the earlier tweet on whistleblowing as it was being pulled out of context. I mean, this right here, right? Like, this is the idea that you could be lying and you want the AI to help you lie and lie in, not just lie in, like, you're just lying, bro. You're just lying to your audience, but egregiously evil, like marketing a drug based on fake data, and this offended them, right? And that's like there is plenty of derision to be spread around here, right? On one, as we just talked about with, that the model might not be reliable enough to determine whether or not something that it thinks is happening is actually happening. But also people's responses to the idea tells you a lot about the people in question, right? Like, very specifically, people like Ben Hayek and Austin Allred, right? I would run their laptops. I think you're doing crime. I am confident you're doing crime. Basically, give an LLM enough data and agency and it will do novel things. This is one of those cases. Yes, I'm sure there's a lot of interesting novel cases of what this model was capable of doing with unlimited access to tools and unlimited agency and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, it probably did a whole bunch of the. It's just, this is the thing that people locked onto, um, you know, for reason. All right, enough about Anthropic. So apparently, Google released something called Jules, and I feel like we missed that in any of the thing. This is labs.google/experiments, right? This is, you can access a bunch of tools, again, generally for free. If they're not available, you can get in line, that kind of thing. Some of them are try it now. I used Create with Flow. I didn't get super into it because I didn't have time. You know what I mean? But this looks interesting. These other ones, and this is Jules. Jules is an asynchronous AI coding agent that automates tasks within GitHub workflows like bug fixes, writing tests, and adding features. So this is available on here if you want to take a look at it. And again, there's a whole bunch of stuff in here, for you to try and play around with. Do edited tweets leave an edit history that people viewing your post can review later as other sites that let you edit live comments do? I don't know. And it's difficult to say because it's Twitter, right? Twitter's behavior, due to reasons, it tends to lack a lot of those features. So I honestly don't know, Sean. Pretty excited to see if I notice any Sonnet 4 improvements over 3.7. Just be careful, you don't do anything egregiously immoral. Ribbons. Jules as in Jules. And where were we? So this person, David Gewirtz, over at ZDNet, I let Google's Jules AI agent into my code repo and it did 4 hours of work in an instant. In the time it took to make coffee, Google Jules rewrote major parts of my code. I didn't just watch it work, I shipped its changes. This is real, but there are also real big caveats. Okay, deep breath. This is surreal. I just added an entirely new feature to my software, including UI and functionality, just by typing 4 paragraphs of instructions, right? This is amazing, right? Because right here he's telling you that this is proper prompting. 4 paragraphs. He took time. He did the thing. He did it the right way and got, according to him, what I'm assuming are good results. That's the key. Anyone who tells you they're having a bad time with the AI, oh God. I want to see their prompt. What have you done? Fair. 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 As a channel redeem, I'm hoping I'm going to attempt to get to channel redeems. I have a list, right, of updating some of the channel redeems, and I'm hoping to get to them tomorrow. So you see this right here? You see this list of Facebook links, which is actually longer than it looks. Every one of these. These are Italian dudes on Facebook making food, right? Lemon pasta, beef bourguignon. One of the Italian chefs watching another Italian chef make spaghetti alla carbonara, right? Like, this is how you train your algorithm to not give you AI slop and give you actual fucking shit that you actually care about. You can do it. I am not that impressive. Still got to review those changes, or you're just a vibe coder, and that is dangerous, but agentic programming is powerful. An AI writing neat, efficient code, that'll be a first. Well, let's take a look. I have screenshots, and I'll try to make sense of it in this article. I can't tell if we're living in the future or we've just descended to a new plane of hell, or both. What up, Taker? You do, homie. Like, I would actually believe that you shit gold at this point. It's just tiny threads of gold that you use to make satellites go into space. Let's take a step back. Google's Jules is the latest in a flood of new coding. Oh, you're going to be working on the Golden Dome? Well, well, it's one of those things. I'd rather nobody be doing it, but if we're not going to get nobody be doing it, I'd rather folks like you would be doing it. You know what I mean? Like, fuck. It's like I'd rather nobody like doing Amazon fulfillment, right? But if somebody's gonna be doing Amazon fulfillment, the fact that it's one of my people doing Amazon fulfillment. Welcome to the fucking world, baby. Gotta make rent. All right. Let's dial in. We got 19 minutes. Boyd!
Password enter. Welcome to BRT Online.
Son of a bitch. Sorry, I forgot to turn the desktop audio, so you didn't get the result. That is that is the only bit redeem that has a specific value tied to it. If you redeem 500 bits, right, you get the Johnny Mnemonic VR. It's actually, I made it for Boyd. I hope you're doing well, homie. I haven't seen you in a minute. I hope you're doing well. But yeah, I made that clip specifically for Boyd. So if anybody wants to, throw 500 bits at the screen, you too can have the Boyd Crowder original, Johnny Mnemonic VR entry clip alert thingy. I don't know if I can. Oh no, I can. Hold up. Because I feel like I fucked up. So if I go here, and I go here, and I go here, and I test the alert.
Password enter. Welcome to BRT Online.
There you go. Now I feel better. Amazon fulfillment, is that what we're calling pooping in a plastic? I mean, it's one of the companies that underlines, Amazon's, like, when you order, but it's not from Amazon, he works for one of those companies. And it's a large company, right? They do a lot of work. But yes, also yes. I wrote about OpenAI Codex and Microsoft's GitHub Copilot coding agent at the beginning of the week, and CDNet's Web Right wrote about Google's Jules. All of these coding agents will perform coding operations on a GitHub repository. GitHub, for those who have been following along, is the giant Microsoft-owned software
My
storage.
circuitry's 12 years out of date. I can't keep up with today's high-speed, top-of-the-line kids.
Oh, Lobster, thank you for gifting one out to Boyd. I appreciate you, homie. What was I saying? Giant Microsoft-owned software storage management and distribution hub for much of the world's most important software, especially open source code. The difference, at least as it pertains to this article, is that Google made Jules available to everyone for free. That means I could just hop in and take it for a spin, and now my head is spinning. The free access version of Jules allows only 5 requests per day. I'm certain, like Ribbons, you can speak to this, that 5 requests per day is like a taste, right? But maybe not. That might not seem like a lot, but in only 2 requests, I was able to add a new feature to my software. So don't discount what you can get done if you think through your prompts before shooting off your silver bullets for the day. Fair enough. I like this guy. My first 2 prompts were tentative. It wasn't until it wasn't that I wasn't impressed. It was that I really wasn't giving Jules much to do. I'm still not comfortable with the idea of setting an AI loose on all my code at once, so I played it safe. I imagine it will do a lot of things depending on what you're asking your prompt. Yeah, that seems to be what he said as well. So, cursor limits agents to 25 actions before you have to manually resume it. Fair enough. My prompt as Jules to document the hooks that add-on developers could use to add features to my product. I didn't tell Jules much about what I wanted. It returned some markup that it recommended dropping into my code's README file. It worked, but meh. I did have the opportunity to publish that code to a new GitHub branch, but I skipped it. It was just a test after all. My second prompt was to ask Jules to suggest me 5 new hooks. I got back an answer that seemed reasonable. However, I realized that opening up those capabilities in a security product was just too risky for me to delegate to an AI. I skipped those changes too. It was at this point that Jules wanted a coffee break. It stopped functioning for about 90 minutes. Probably one of those things where like a lot of people were using it, especially like on the free level. With a lot of the AI tools, what you'll pick up is there's certain times in the day, right? Just think about people being at work, So there will be times in the day when everything runs slower. If you can do your stuff outside of those times, you'll get faster results. Like when I use Ideogram, I use it outside of those times and I get faster results. It gave me time to think. What I really wanted to see was whether Jules could add some real functionality to my code and save me some time. So, necessary background information. My private site is a security plugin for WordPress. It's running on about 20,000 active sites. It puts a login dialog in front of the site's web pages. There are a bunch of options, but that's the key feature. I originally acquired the software a decade ago from a coder who calls himself John Radio and have been maintaining and expanding it ever since. The plugin provides access control to the front end of a website, the pages that visitors see when they come to the site. Site owners control the plugin via dashboard interface with various admin functions available in the plugin's admin interface. I also like the way this dude writes because he's writing for all levels, right? Like, you can, if you know what, the front end of a website is, you'll probably skip this paragraph, but it's a short paragraph and then you get into more stuff. But if you don't know shit, you can still come here and kind of understand what it is that he's talking about. And I appreciate that. I decided to try Jules out on a feature some users have requested, hiding the admin bar from logged in users. The admin bar is this black bar WordPress puts on top of a web page. In the case of the screenshot below, the black admin bar is visible. Right? Nice. Love it. I wanted Jules to add an option on the dashboard to hide the admin bar from logged in users. The idea is that if a user is logged in, the admin bar would be visible on the back end, but logged in users browsing the front end of the site wouldn't have to see that ugly bar. I mean, fair, but This is the original dashboard before adding the feature. Some years ago, I completely rewrote the admin interface from the way it was when I acquired the plugin. Adding options to the interface is straightforward, but it's still time-consuming. Every option requires not only the UI element to be added, but also preference saving and preference recalling when the dashboard is displayed. This is in addition to any program logic that the preference controls. Yes, I'm a huge fan. It's one of those things where I'm never concerned about what I'm putting into the context window, like length of it. Right? I'll just throw that shit in there. And I know it's going to fit. And it's going to, make sense of all the relevant data. In practice, I found that it takes me about 2 to 3 hours to add a preference UI element along with the assorted housekeeping involved. It's not hard, but there are a lot of little fiddly bits that all need to be tweaked. That takes time. That should bring you up to speed enough to understand my next test of Jules. Here's a bit of foreshadowing. The first test failed miserably. The second test succeeded astonishingly. Adding a hide admin bar feature is not something that would have been easy for the run-of-the-mill coding help we've been asking ChatGPT and other chatbots to perform. As I mentioned, adding the new option to the dashboard requires programming in a variety of locations throughout the code and also requires an understanding of the overall code base. Here's what I told Jules. On the Site Privacy tab of the admin interface, add a new checkbox. Label the section admin bar and label the checkbox itself hide admin bar. Place it brackets. Place this in the make site private block located just under the enable login privacy checkbox and before the site privacy mode segment. End brackets. I instructed Jules where I wanted the AI to put the new option. On my first run through, I made a mistake and left out the details in square brackets. I didn't tell Jules exactly where I wanted it to place it in the new option. As it turns out, that omission caused a big fail. Once I added the sentence in brackets, the feature worked. Be sure to save the selection of that checkbox to the plugin's preference variable when the Save Privacy Status button is checked. This is to make sure Jules knows that there's a preference data structure and to be sure to update it when the user makes a change. It's important to note that if I didn't have an understanding of the underlying code, I wouldn't have instructed Jules about this and the code would not work. You can't vibe code something like this without knowledge of the underlying code. What up, Pharaoh? 3, show the appropriate checked or unchecked status when the site privacy tab is displayed. This tells the AI I want the interface to be updated to match what the preference variable specifies. 4, based on the preference variable created in 2, add code to hide or show the WordPress admin bar. And then he describes exactly how to do it. This describes the business logic that the new preference should control, right? He's demonstrating the proper, prompting and the logic behind it. I am liking this dude like more and more. And also when he said earlier about 4 paragraphs, these are the 4 paragraphs. He described to the best of his ability exactly what he wanted it to do, right? I fed my prompt into Jules and got back a plan of action. Pay close attention to the approve plan button. I didn't even get a chance to read through the plan before Jules decided to approve the plan on its own. It did this after every plan it presented. An AI that doesn't wait for permission raises the hairs on the back of my neck. Just saying. Yeah, that is a little kind of concerning. I desperately wanted to make a Skynet Landru Colossus P1 Hell kind of joke because I'm freaked out. I mean, it's good, but I'm freaked out. Here's some of the code Jules wrote. The shaded green is the new stuff. I'm not thrilled with the color scheme, but I'm sure that will be tweakable over time. Right? So here's the new code. More relevant is the fact that Jules picked up on my variable naming conventions and the architecture of my code and dived right in. This is the new option rendered in code. By the time it was done, Jules had written in all the code changes it planned for originally, plus some test code. I don't use standardized tests. I would have told Jules not to do it this way, the way it planned, but it never gave me time to approve or modify its original plan. Even so, it worked out. I pushed the publish branch button, which caused GitHub to create a new branch separate from my main repository. Jules then published its changes to that branch. This is how contributors to big projects can work on the projects without causing chaos in the main code line. Up to this point, I could look at the code, but I wasn't able to run it. But by pushing the code to a branch, Jules and GitHub made it possible for me to replicate the changes safely down to my computer to test them out. If I didn't like the changes, I could just have switched back to the main branch and no harm, no foul. But I did like the changes, so I moved on to the next step. And then there's more. But this is basically like, this is a person who did their job and let the AI do their job. And apparently it worked out quite well. The fact that Jules and presumably OpenAI Codex and GitHub Copilot coding agent can handle an entire repository of code across a bunch of files. What up, Van Briggs? Is big. That's a much deeper level of understanding and integration than we saw even 6 months ago. The speed with which it can change an entire code base is terrifying. The damage it can do is potentially extraordinary. It will gleefully go through and modify everything in your code base, and if you specify something wrong and then push or merge, you will have an epic mess on your hands. So, always save a backup, right? Do not push changes. Yeah, I feel like we learned this from who was it? Code Spike, Cloud Spike, whatever. Remember that one that took out the airplane or the airlines and everything else? Cloud Shrike, I don't know. One of them fucking names. Like that should have taught everyone who didn't already know that you don't push changes without like verification, everything else, you know? There's a deep inequality between how quickly it can change code and how long it will take a human to review those changes. Working on this scale will require excellent unit tests. Even tools like mine, which don't lend themselves, CrowdStrike, thank you, which don't lend themselves to full unit testing, will require some kind of automated validation to prevent robot-driven errors on a massive scale. Those who are afraid of these those who are afraid these tools will take jobs from programmers should be concerned, but not in the way most people think. It is absolutely, totally, 100% necessary for experienced coders to review and guide these agents. When I left out one critical instruction, the agent gleefully bricked my site. Since I was the person who wrote the code initially, I knew what to fix. But it would have been brutally difficult for someone else to figure out what had been left out and how to fix it. That would have required coming up to speed on all the hidden nuances of the entire architecture of the code. The jobs that are likely to be destroyed are those of junior developers. Jules is easily doing junior developer level work. With tools like Jules or Codex or Copilot that cost of a few $100 a month at most, it's going to be hard for management to be willing to pay medium to high six figures for mid-level and junior programmers. Even outsourcing and offshoring isn't as cheap as using an AI agent to do maintenance coding. As I wrote about earlier this week, if there's no mid-level jobs available, how will we train the experienced people we're going to need in the future? I'm also concerned about how access limits will shake out. Productivity gains will drop like a rock if you need to do one more prompt and you have to wait a day to be allowed to do so. Right? I have enjoyed reading this article. I enjoy David's work. Shout out David for reasonable takes, well-written article, not doing, senior is the new entry level. I mean, you need 10 years experience to get this entry level job. Future's gonna be wild, yo. All right, I appreciate all of you. I'll see some of you back here at 5 p.m. Eastern. I'll see some of you back here on Monday at 11. Oh, no. Monday should be another early start because it's a holiday, and so the boy will not be doing his internship. So probably start at 9:30. Maybe just go longer. I don't know. Something will happen Monday. I'll be here. Make sure you hit that follow button so you know when I go live. And in the meantime, drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you've forgotten. Always remember that Chuggy loves you. And so do I. Be great.